Islam.
Unmuted.
Islam. Can you hear me, sister?
Islam. Clear as the bell. Peace and love.
Gratitude, peace, and love. Islamism. Islam, 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 Moorish America. Let us rise upon the seven and give all praises to the great God, Allah, our Father God, Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. Let us come forth with our ancient committee and adept Moorish American prayer. And as we come forth, we ask that you open up your hearts and minds as we open up the way. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Ya Allah abnu heru makuneteru, Ya Allah abhet heru, Ya Allah ma'at heru, Ya Allah hutep heru, Ya Allah heru, Ya Allah ma'at herakuti, Ya Allah ahwajeta duty, Ya Allah per im tutek per im heru, Ya Allah bamaduti, El Hajjat Shepsis Rayab to Ali. Ameen. Haliyasu, Haliyasu, Haliyasu. And that is the same Moorish kin in transliteration. O Allah, the Father of the universe. O Allah, the Father of love. O Allah, the Spirit of truth. O Allah, the Spirit of peace. O Allah, the Spirit of freedom. O Allah, the Spirit of justice. O Allah, you are my protector. O Allah, you are my guide. O Allah, you are my salvation by night and by day. O Allah, through your holy prophet. O Allah, Drew Ali. Amen. Holy Issa, Holy Issa, Holy Issa. Islam, Moorish kin. And now we come forth before you with the divine constitution of Moorish America. Salvation, our God, unity. The seven supreme constitutional acts of law. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of Moorish America empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs, if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. The bylaws. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh. And on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws. And all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slave holders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet Noble Drew Ali through the guidance of his father God Allah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of Moorish America. And now that this meeting has been opened according to the triune acts, Acts 1, 2, and 3 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, we say Islam, Islam, Islamism. The providence of Allah is ever all his works. He ruleth and directeth with infinite wisdom. He hath instituted laws for the government of the world. He hath wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each by his nature conformeth to his will. Shimotepu Morishkin.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Gratitude to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh for opening up the way. According to law, I am the National Grand Secretary of the state of Indiana, Dr. Saad Natinu Hajaru El, and I rise giving perfect praises to our Father God Allah, and the highest honors to our Holy Prophet El-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. Honors to our theocratic Moorish American government. Honors to all of Act 1. Honors to our Grand National Seal, our Grand National Emblem, and our Grand National Flag, the Moorish flag. Honors to all that is Moorish and all of you for being here in our Moorish Perspectives class. Islam, Islam, Islam. Chapter 51. Magistrate and Subject. O thou, the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise to sovereign power and set as a ruler over themselves. Consider the ends and importance of their trust, far more than the dignity and height of thy station. Thou art clothed in purple and seated on a throne. The crown of majesty investeth thy temples. The scepter of power is placed in thy hand, but not for thyself were these ensigns given, not meant for thy own, but the good of thy kingdom. The glory of a king is the welfare of his people. His power and dominion rest on the hearts of his subjects. The mind of a great prince is exalted with the grandeur of the situation. He evolveth high things and searcheth for business worthy of his power. He calleth together the wise men of his kingdom. He consulteth among them with freedom and heareth the opinions of them all. He looketh among his people with discernment. He discovereth the abilities of men and employs them according to their merits. His magistrates are just. His ministers are wise, and the favorite of his bosom deceiveth him not. He smileth on the arts, and they flourish. The sciences improve beneath the culture of his hand. With the learned and ingenious, he delighteth himself. He kindleth in their breasts emulation, and the glory of his kingdom is exalted by their labors. The spirit of the merchant who extendeth his commerce The skill of the farmer who enriches his land, the ingenuity of the artist, the improvements of the scholar, all these he honored with his favor, or rewarded with his bounty. He planted new colonies, he builded strong ships, he opened rivers for convenience, he formeth harbors for safety. His people abound in riches, and the strength of his kingdom increases. He frameth his statutes with equity and wisdom. His subjects enjoy his subjects enjoy the fruits of their labor in security, and their happiness consists of the observance of the law. He founded his judgments on the principle of mercy, but in the punishment of offenders, he is strict and impartial. His ears are open to the complaints of his subjects. He restraineth his hands of their oppressors, and he delivered them from their tyranny. His people, therefore, look up to him as a father, with reverence and love. They consider him as a guardian of all they enjoy. Their affection unto him begetteth in his breast a love of the public. The security of their happiness is the object of his care. No murmurs against him arise in their hearts. The machinations of his enemies endanger not the state. His subjects are faithful and find in his cause. They stand in his defense as a wall of brass. The army of the tyranny lieth before them as chaff before the wind. Security and peace bless in the dwelling of his people, and glory and strength encircle his throne forever. Islam, Islam, Islam. The day is August 12th, 2023, and welcome to another Moorish Perspectives class sponsored by our Moorish American government. Our host instructor is our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shedu Aminti and Mohamed Shepsuel, with our subject matter coming out of our new chapter of the week, Magistrate and Subject. Ayat 1. O thou, the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise the sovereign power, and set as a ruler over themselves, consider the ends and importance of their trust, far more than the dignity and height of thy station. Gratitude to our National Assistant Grand Chief for opening up the way according to law, and gratitude to the National Grand Secretary of the State of Indiana, Dr. Saad Natanu Hedru El, for taking registration and also reading the chapter of the week. At this time, we'll call to the floor our host instructor, our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shedu Aminti and Mohamed Shepsuel. Islam.
Islam. Gratitude, goddess and queen. Islamism. Praise be to Allah. Islam, 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 Moorish America. Once again, want to rise upon the seven and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything. And I do mean everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. I want to welcome you to another Moorish Perspectives. And I'm your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Amohadi Shabazz El. My ancient Comedian high name being the same as Dr. Shedu Aminti El Muhammad Shepsuel. And I want to welcome my Moorish kin to another grand expression, in this special Moorish perspectives. We have a grand drawing to bring on the manifest, and our subject title is dealing with magistrate and subject. This is a very powerful demonstration, when we talk about the magistrate and subject, you know, it don't get no plainer than this. It don't get no plainer than this. So going into this special measure, it's gonna be a grand drawing tonight, as always. And all of these particular subject matters that we're dealing with now are coming out of our chapters that deal with social duties. We know no man or woman is an island unto themselves, and that when it comes down to this special fact of the matter, that we have to know how to deal with each other on equal footing, so to speak. We actually know how to deal with each other according to the ways that they taught us, in slavery. But we don't know how to deal with each other according to dealing with laws, that govern us as they govern the events, that have to do with us governing our nation. We've always been subject to somebody else's direction, so to speak. And a lot of this was under force as opposed to being by choice. And so now you have a choice, because we are here demonstrating self-determination. We are here uplifting and exhuming our nation as a people. So you have a choice as to, whom or what you are willing to serve when it comes to dealing with us being here in this new era and time. So again, this is a choice, a divine choice. This is not a force, but this is a divine choice that all of us have. And what we're going to be dealing with, is basically teaching our people how to honor each other, respect each other's authority. When we hear that terminology, authority, all we can think of is somebody standing over us with a whip, or somebody standing over us with a badge and a gun, making us do something when we hear the word authority. But when it comes down to dealing with true reflection upon what authority is, we're talking about, authority as it relates to us being able to govern our people according to love. Now, we ain't seen that type of authority, especially over here in the West. In fact, it's rare that you see that type of authority throughout the world. Most of our people have been taught, and this is all a part of what they like to consider the art of war, whereas we striving to demonstrate the art of peace. Most of them have been taught that in order for them to get ahead, and actually be able to stay in control of something, you got to rule through an iron fist. You got to demonstrate, instilling fear in someone. And sadly to say, this we have stated in our last Moorish perspectives last week, that this is the very reason why it is, that we have suffered so much, because we have taken the tactics, of the slave master, slave breaker, slave holder, slave catcher, and we have made that our very own methodology when it comes to governing ourselves as a people. When it comes to governing our businesses, we are imitating this European. When it comes to governing our domestic relationships, we have been found imitating the European. When it comes to governing, any form of us coming together in unity, we have been imitating, again, the oppressor. And we can go all the way down the line. Anything that have to do with us being put in a position of authority, we have abused that authority because we have taken on the characteristics of an authoritarian mentality. We know the word authority is at the root of authoritarian, but there's a difference between authoritarian and authority in and of itself. authoritarian, having to do with you dealing with somebody that's dealing with a dictatorship. So we are not here to demonstrate a dictatorship when it comes to dealing with our people. We are not here to be the new slave master. We are not here to be the new oppressor. We are not here to find, the weaknesses of our brothers and sisters and exploit those weaknesses, in order to enrich ourselves, in order to elevate ourselves. You see, we are here to teach our people to love instead of hate. Leadership, as we have it already established, it is one within the hearts of the people. Leadership is basically being able to tap into the consciousness and the divinity of our people. Leadership is something that is natural. In fact, the one that is truly leading don't even know that they are leading, so to speak. I found that out by reading some Buddhist material a while ago. It's a powerful measure. We're going to actually pick up where we left off too, dealing with the teachings of Tahotep as well. We're going to incorporate some of that in here because it goes most definitely parallel with what it is we're talking about. Just as last week we dealt with, master and servant, and as we can see, these chapters are unfolding by degree. So Prophet Noble Drew Ali was a true executive ruler. He was a true divine general of his people. You see? So once we understand, again, how to rule, then we will have the proper capacity of knowing that our nation is ready to accept rulership of itself. And again, we call that self-determination. We have to be willing to determine within ourselves that we will be a nation. See, we talk about exhuming a nation all the time. Want to give honors to the book, written by our Grand National Chairman, Dr. Akin Pert M. Heru, Tutankhamun Bay, The Exhuming of a Nation. A lot of people fail to realize that the exhuming of a nation, as it relates to us as a people, has to do with establishing context of a motive as to how it is that the demise of the African God man took place, code name Hiram Abiff. So he had to be exhumed. His body had to be brought back up to a surface level, topside planet mud, so to speak. He had to be examined because it was suspected that there was a motive behind the murder of this African God man, code name Hiram Abiff, right? And upon investigation, we found that this special one had died by multiple blows. Blows, that traumatized, this special one before he passed form, before he died or went to his demise, so to speak. So by us exhuming the body, this means that we have some insight that there's newfound evidence of this special one that had transitioned. And the newfound evidence shows that he died from mental slavery. He died from mental slavery, family. This was what ultimately brought him to his demise. This was, the death blow, so to speak. Mental slavery. Mental slavery is basically a slow dosage, so to speak, of a poison. And this special slow dose of poison, is the same concoction that's being used in this new era in time to take the descendants of this African God man, our common ancestor, off of the manifest. You see? And I know that when it come down to this right here, you hear about the story of being hit to the head, hit to the heart, and so forth and so on. And this is indeed, what took place, because mental slavery affects the way we think. So that's the blow to the head. Mental slavery affects the way that we feel toward each other. So that's a blow to the heart. Mental slavery affects our ability to be able to speak truth to power. So that's the blow to the throat that we suffer. And yet this all has to do with indoctrination and poison. You see? So in order for us to come out of that special way of thinking, or be raised or exhumed, right? Because the purpose of exhuming the body, is actually to bring life to the body. You see? Because everything is powerful when you're a God man. Everything is powerful when you're a God woman, sisters. And when we come together as one, and we come together in unity, our power is even more potent. You see? And so once we understand this, we understand in unity there's strength. There's strength, family. Want to give honors to our family out there in social media as well, tapping in. Those who are amongst the faithful, keep sharing, keep liking, keep subscribing, and allowing other people to do the same, family. Because these lessons, are being suppressed, so to speak, some by our own people and some by these ones that are out here, that are still sleepwalking, so to speak. You see, they have no idea because they are only looking at their present concerns, and they can't go beyond their present concerns. So they can't see the unity of us as a whole. And this all has to do with the way we treat each other, the way that we communicate with each other. You see, I'm going to go a little further. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually put this up here so our family can move along with us, as we go through these special chapters. And for those who may not know, these special chapters that we have here that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought back, we tell our people all the time that they were most definitely, Kemetic. The Circle 7 is a Kemetic book. And you say, well, how, brother, Shahid, Commission, how is the Circle 7 a Kemetic book? Well, we understand that the 18 missing years of the life of our brother Yehoshua, the neophyte, the Egyptian adept, all of these 18 missing years took place in Kemet. You see, and then he went to other nations, afterwards, at the end, so to speak, of his ministry. This is where he was taught at. Remember, the flight was taken into Kemet when he was 12 years old, according to the Piscean records of what they like to call the Bible. And it was not only him, it was also, his aunt Elizabeth, his mother Mary, and his cousin John, his father Joseph. All of them took this special journey, and we can call it a Hajj, in all actuality, a pilgrimage, because it was here that he was raised up. It was here that he was taught the teachings of Ma'at, whether we know it or not. It is here that he was taught harmony, truth, balance, right, order, and justice. It is here that he was taught the teachings of truth and right. And out of all of that knowledge that he received, he was able to take that information and raise his people up. So if those 18 years are dealing with that special knowledge, and then we go into the chapters that follow those 18 missing years, and we get into the social duties, and we find that these chapters are the work of Akhenaten, the fourth, right? And there's a combination of the teachings of Amenhotep that can be found here. The same instructions, that we see in the teachings of Ptahhotep, as we showed you last week, can be found here. So when you hear this chapter dealing with magistrate and subject, keep that in mind. These are teachings according to the records that we have that come straight out of Kemet. So the magistrate is the modern terminology that we use. And the subject is also a modern terminology that we use. But just as a master and a servant, it's two sides of the same coins. A magistrate and subject is the same. We also understood that last week we showed you the origin of the word mir, and how it connects to the word mayor, which is mentioned in the teachings of Ptahhotep. And we understand that mayor, or mir, also has to do with a magistrate. You see, one that is great. So that's why this is the chief chapter when it comes to dealing with instructing executive rulers. It gives us our proper place. So all of the chapters that we went through, previously, dealing with all of where we at now, led us up to this special point. All of them are strengthening us according to the ways and the teachings of our ancestors. So understanding this concept in relation to dealing with magistrate and subject is going to be a grand draw. And our subject title was taken basically from this first ayat. O thou favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise to sovereign power and set as ruler over themselves. Consider the ends and importance of their trust, far more than the dignity and the height of thy station. This is powerful. Notice it says, the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men thy equal has agreed to raise to sovereign power. In other words, the ancestors have chosen you. And they have, infused the hearts and minds of your peers. You see, your brothers and sisters, your equals, so that they may agree to raise you to sovereign power as a ruler over them. Now, when it comes to dealing with this sovereign power, we're not talking about a sovereign citizen movement. We're not talking about individual sovereignty where you're going up and trying to challenge somebody's jurisdiction. But we are talking about you being set up as an executive ruler over a people by their choice. Remember, I said it earlier. Leadership is won in the hearts of the people, right? So it says, so consider the ends and importance of their trust. They have entrusted you with this special station. So consider the importance of them entrusting you. Remember, we was talking about our brother Muhammad ibn Abdullah not long ago. They gave him the title Al-Amin. Al-Amin in the Arabic means trustworthy. And that's what we have to ask ourselves. If we are at the head of leading our people, executive rulers, are you trustworthy? Have you really gained the trust of your people? Have we gained each other's trust? Because this is part, of the reason as to why it is that we have been falling by climbing when it comes to uniting as a nation. It's a lack of trust. And therefore, a lack of trust brings about a lack of security. And a lack of security brings about uncertainty. And this inspires fear and everything else that come with it. So far more than the dignity and the height of thy station, what are we saying? If they have entrusted you, and you ought to consider this, far more the dignity and the height of thy station, this is saying that, beyond how high you think you are, beyond the dignity that you have in relation to dealing with the height of your station, the main thing has to do with you being an acknowledgement, or rather acknowledging the trust that the people have bestowed upon you. And that's something very sacred, family. This is what made the Pur'ah, or who they like to call the Pharaoh. You see, this is what made, the Mesurah, or the Ra Mesu, the true executive ruler that he was in ancient Kemet. This is what made the high priest, you see, who they was, or any special station, that has been given. This is what made the scribe in ancient Kemet. They understood that they were entrusted with offering their services to the people and not the other way around. And they also recorded these things so that we would be able to bear witness to the epitome of what leadership is meant to express. So to be a magistrate, just as we say to be a master, you would have to be a servant at some point. To be a magistrate, you had to be a master subject. In other words, you had to be able to embrace authority. I define this as Allah's law, that you must first be a good follower in order to become a great leader. That was one of the principles, that I learned in my youth when I was moving with youth organizations. That was one of the parts of the literature. I define this as Allah's law, that you must first be a good follower in order that you may become a great leader. You see, if you don't have enough humility, how humble should man be? As weak as he art ignorant. If you don't have, the strength in you to be humble, then you would never have the strength in you to lead. So we want to overemphasize this. So it went on, it gave us more details. It stated, thou art clothed in purple, and purple is a color of royalty, despite the movie color purple. They gave it a bad rap, but, thou art in, clothed in purple and seated on a throne. Now, a lot of people think of this as being, an earthly throne. But in all actuality, when we go into the teachings that have to do with the spirituality, especially when it relates to rulership, the throne is really synonymous with the heart. It is the great God that reigns supreme within the breast of every true mastermind or adept. So when we talk about being seated on that special throne, this is a powerful demonstration, because even the color purple is found at the heights of dealing with the crown chakra. A lot of people don't know that right there. It's up there. All you got to do is go through, those special measures. And you'll find that the color purple is up there. So dealing with this aspect of where we coming from, and seated on the throne, the crown of majesty invested thy temples. Uh-oh. So we know that there are crown jewels within the crown of majesty. Those crown jewels had to do with knowledge, wisdom, understanding, love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. Food, clothing, and shelter. These are 12 crown jewels. But notice that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding are the first 3 jewels. So we have to have the knowledge to rule, the wisdom to make decisions as executive rulers, and the understanding, knowing that at one time we too were servants, or we too were subjects of leadership. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You know, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Harmony, truth, balance, right, order, and justice. Justice, mercy, love, and right. Truth and right. Ma'atic law. You see? This is what we govern and rule by when we are conscious of our divinity. When we are conscious that we are one with God and therefore the expression of God, the netter. We are amongst the netteru. And you can't enslave a God. And nor did God make us mindless slaves. He made us master thinkers. And so why wouldn't we receive a crown of majesty to invest our temple? And that's the true temple of perfected man. And again, when we get into, you know, the freedom, justice, equality, and so forth and so on, and we talk about the aspects of what we call food, clothing, and shelter, you know, all of those things come when we seek the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven, people, is found within the mind of your executive rulers. Those who you allow to have authority over you according to divinity. We ain't talking about no slave making, slave breaking teachings. We're talking about those who have your best interests at heart. The United States has its leader that it calls POTUS, its president. So why you shouldn't have your executive ruler? We always had people that were, you know, at the head of the tribe, at the head of the kingdom, at the head of the nation. This is a common thing. However, we have a people now that have fallen out of touch. There was a time, and I can pull up many different pictures right now. I can show you where master teachers were being literally lifted up and carried about the community with pillars, sitting upon pillars by their students, by those who were serving them. I can show you pictures where you would see often the people serving or servants of humanity surrounding their leadership and proud to demonstrate this. When we seen Prophet Noble Drew Ali and we look at the pictures and his reflection, we can see the people literally surrounding, corralling around their leadership. And by looking at reflections, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, we can see that the people most definitely had no problem. They didn't feel ashamed. They didn't feel slighted in any type of way when it came to rallying around their leadership. It's only in this new era and time where our people think they too grown to learn. It's only in this new era and time where our people got too much pride to be able to follow the direction of someone that knows better than they do. They want to call it cultism now. You see? And this is what we have lost. And this is why we have lost respect as a people. And we are, as a whole, a nation that are considered an unruly people. You know, even Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, we are hard-headed, stiff-necked, mean set of people who have never done anything except at the point of a sword. You got to be made to do something. Because in you, in your mind, you feel like there's no one worthy of telling you anything. You won't even listen to your own mother. You won't listen to your father. So we know that you don't care nothing about listening to a leader outside of you. And I'm speaking in general, Morris Ken. You already know what I say. If the shoe don't fit, don't try to squeeze it on because it might hurt you. But if the shoe fit, then wear it. So this has become the new wave when it comes to our community. You know, where children, you know, are naturally reared up in disobedience, you know, toward their parents. So this is where the rebellion starts at. Because we know, again, if you don't respect your mother and father, later for anybody else outside of that is special measure. And we are told in our teachings, honor your mother and your father that your days may be long upon this earth land. The mother and the father to us represents our nationality and divine creed. Because your nationality stems through the lineage of your father. Your divine creed comes under the teaching of your mother. That's why we equate honoring your mother and father to honoring your nationality and your divine creed. So we have been told that we are 3/5 having a mind, a soul, a body, a mental, physical, and a spiritual. But yet somebody else possessed us. They owned us. But we lack the other two that will make us whole, that will make us 5/5, that will make us 5 times more powerful. And we know that 5 in the 5 principles represent justice. So in other words, justice can only take its course when we get our act together. So we go from a state of the 3/5 clause to the 5/5 empowerment. We are justice that our people has been waiting for. But if you don't acknowledge your station, then that station will remain unmanned. And if there's no one there to execute the course of justice, then we will be a people that are constantly suffering from injustice. We will be demonstrating that injustice upon each other, because if we are thinking that we are dealing with 3/5, which the European called cattle or chattel or a human beast, and then we would act that way as opposed to acting like those of empowerment. So those other 2/5 are really the breath of divinity, because one attaches you to the land and one attaches you to God. In other words, you being the God man that governs the land. It's a powerful measure when we deal with this word that we call more family. And we are proved time and time again and over that this word can be traced back to all of the ancient civilizations of our ancestors. When you remove the vowels and you deal with the root, M and R can be traced back to our ancestors. But we also know that this M and R root are mirror. In one aspect, it refers to the land. In one aspect, it refers to the man. In one aspect, it refers to the water. And we know that within the man is his spirit, the vital force that we call the life force. And even it, if you've been watching some of my videos, can be traced back to the same root as being Mar. Mari, Lamaris, represents spirit. Spirit is synonymous with breath. And the breath pervades the atmosphere. We call them vibration. So if Mir deals with land, man in the water, and man in his true state is spirit man, when we hear the term law governs all events, we're talking about the man that governs the plane of soul and the plane of things made manifest. That's what we told in chapter 1. You see? That man is a vicegerent, a Khalifa, is Lord of the plane of soul and Lord of the plane of things made manifest. Land, air, water. LAW, law. So in all actuality, you are law in action. You are the one that govern all events when you're in a state of consciousness. See? So as we go on, and we go a little deeper into this measure, and we're just dealing with the second ayat. We ain't even got down into the others yet. I'm just showing you the wisdom and the power Prophet Noble Drew Ali has brought forth, from our ancestors. The scepter of power is placed in thy hand, but not for thyself were these ensigns given, not meant for thy own, but the good of thy kingdom. Meaning the empowerment that you received after receiving the ensigns, the staff of power. And we know the hand is symbolic to the mind. So the true staff of power that has been given to you, that scepter of power, represents that scimitar of consciousness. It represents that wand of truth that the Moorish Holy Quran refers to. Every mastermind carried a scepter of power. Moses had one. He split the Red Sea and he split some heads with it too. He carried a big stick, But then when we go into the aspects of looking at all of them, they all had scepters of power. And this actually represented the portion of the consciousness that they were given of divinity. And this was not for themselves. This was given to them to aid and assist and uplift their people. Even when it comes to the realm of dealing with what we call economics and wealth, if you are able to earn in excess, this is a scepter of power. Not given for yourself, but given for the good of your kingdom. So that you would become, selfless instead of being selfish, so to speak, right? It goes on and states the glory of a king is the welfare of his people. See, this is your priority. Same thing when it comes to a queen. It says, and his power and dominion rests on the hearts of his subjects. There is no power and dominion without those who are willing to be subject to the rule of an executive ruler. It's a rebellion, a nationless people. So you can have the leadership, But if he is not reigning supreme within the hearts and minds and the consciousness of the people, then where is the empowerment for the nation? See, many people think that when we get up here, just because they hear the term Moorish American, they finna hear somebody preaching to them and so forth and so on. But if you really been tuning in, you can tell that's not the case with the Moorish American government. We are simply giving our people the tools to become masters of themselves. Because in order for you to honor an executive ruler outside of you, you have to first be willing to adhere and listen to the executive ruler inside of you. We call it higher self. We call it God. We call it adept. We call it master teacher. We call it mastermind. We call it guru. We call it Baba, and so forth and so on. If you are not able to honor the leader in you, that silent voice that directs you to a higher state of consciousness, then we already know that you won't listen to anyone that is speaking vocally outside of you. And so that's why we teach self-mastery. We're not here teaching our people, about a God outside of the self. We are teaching our people about how God rules through the self. And in our teaching, we call this spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah. Spirit clothed with your soul actions of thinking, willing, reasoning, understanding, and remembrance, made in the form of arm, leg, arm, head. Huh? That's that ancient Comedian teaching. That's that Netaru teaching. That's that God, man, God teaching. It don't get no plainer than that. Now, you can try to make it whatever else you want it to be and try to make it, some religious. Are they talking that religion? No, that ain't what we teach. We teach divine creed. And that divine creed is rooted in Ma'atic law. Universal with it, too. So universal that we can honor all of our people no matter what walk of life they come from. And anybody in denial of that is in denial of themselves and the God within the self. And this explains, why one ends up going through so many hellacious conditions, right? We carry our own karma as baggage. So the mind of a great prince. So we talking about the king, now we're talking about the prince, because the prince is the one that is, the heir apparent. The prince is the one that's coming behind the king, often in the field, doing the work. The mind of a great prince is exalted with the grandeur of his situation. He evolveth high things and searches for business worthy of his power. See, that's the nature of the prince. The king, or the executive ruler, which the prince is a ruler as well, but in this case, we can look at the king as being the supreme ruler amongst executive rulers. This is the likeness of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He is the supreme ruler amongst executive rulers because he's still ruling from the plane of soul. If he is seated within the consciousness, the hearts and the minds of our people. Remember, that's the throne. Is the prophet seated upon your throne? Because we hear about this vacant seat that was in the east. And we know that from an esoteric, a spiritual, and a metaphysical interpretation that the east represents that which was within. So if there was a vacant seat in the east and it had to be filled, then who else is worthy than filling that seat than Prophet Noble Drew Ali? Reigning supreme within our consciousness. Directing and dictating. Delegating authority. Oh, man. Powerful. See, we got to learn to honor our ancestors. We got to learn that our ancestors are ever present. And they always nudging us, so to speak, to get our act together. See, this is what we mean when we say our ancestors are speaking through us. This is what Prophet Noble Drew Ali meant when he said that he was going to repeat himself. I don't know what nobody else think, but repeat and reincarnation, sound way familiar. And we ain't talking about a spooky aspect of him reincarnating in one particular individual. If we represent his grand body, then it is we as a whole through whom he is repeating himself over and over and over and over and over again. It is that reason that we are here on the manifest in this new era in time. There are no strange happenings. This is not by chance. We are the return of the ancient ones. And when we reproduce that which is of ourselves, it is the same process. At this point, being that we have unfolded into supreme laws, and this is what we call the age of fruition. We come out of the age of preparation into the age of fruition. We ain't even got to ask like the ancestors used to ask, is this the one? Because we all are the one. We all are one. So it goes on and states, he called it together the wise men of his kingdom. Wise men of his kingdom, he consulted among them with freedom, and he heareth the opinions of them all. Every time we open up this floor, we open the door to hear from the opinions of our family. So no one can never charge us with not being patient enough to listen to our family. We're not talking about somebody that get upset and get in their feelings and say they don't want to listen to hear what I'm saying. We go on a lot of different platforms and we talk to different people, and we notice that people don't have the patience with us that we have with them. They can't let you finish what you're saying, can't hear you out. It just hurt them to sit there and listen. We don't have a problem with that here. You don't hear nobody *6 their phone right now trying to butt in on what we demonstrate because we have order. Our people can't even stand to sit there and listen to the thought, a full, complete thought. They like to hen pick at the thoughts that are being put out there. Before you finish the thought, they got a million questions. And even after you finish, answering the question, is still more confusion. And a lot of the reason because one was more asking questions, to, I would call it just antagonize and not really trying to learn. And then by the time you get to the point, do you understand what I said? Everyone don't know nothing about what you were talking about. So it's fruitless to have that type of conversation. But one can never charge us with not being disciplined enough to listen to our family. You see? We willing to hear the opinion of all. When I open up this floor and our Moorish kin go to speaking, you ain't gonna hear me come in here cutting that special one off. Even if they may say something, that I may feel is contrary to what we stand on. I ain't gonna stop them in the middle of their bill. I'm gonna give honors to them, after they bill, and I'm gonna keep it moving. Unless one just come outright, in opposition, then we address that measure where it is. We gonna be wondering, well, what's going on, family? I don't know about nobody else, but the way I came up in that special case, where you show out at, that's where you get it at. You know what I mean? I used to have to plat my switches. I'm from the South. So, he looked among his people with discernment, and he discovered the ability of men and employed them according to their merits. See, one that has a knowledge of leadership, they have to be able to identify this and know where it is, that those who are under the subject of the rule are being servants, to the master mind, in the process of training them to be the same. One has to be able to see the qualities and the characteristics, the strengths and the talents of men to be able to properly employ them and direct them according to their merits. That ain't no secret, right? It goes on to say, his magistrates are just, his ministers are wise, and the favorite of his bosom deceiveth him not. Now you already know that you can tell the quality of a leader's leadership by those whom they have led or those whom they are leading. And they're the ones who are faithful to them, so to speak. The one that they consider deemed faithful will never deceive them. It says, he smileth on the arts and they flourish. Sciences improve beneath the culture of his hand. So this is talking about the ability of an executive ruler. One that is able to cause some economy. Cause life to flourish when it comes to dealing with the nation. One is conscious and up to date when it comes to dealing with knowing about the sciences by which they can improve their nation. You see, all this being done beneath the culture of his hand. Then with the learned and ingenuous, he delighteth himself. He kindleth in their breasts emulation. Meaning that when you're a true leader, you don't have to tell somebody you're going to follow me. You need to follow my direction. When you true in your leadership, the people will emulate you by nature. They would even notice within themselves when they have been touched by you, and a portion of you as their leader is being expressed through them. You go to thinking, man, that's something, my chairman would demonstrate. That's something my chairman would say. You can literally feel, the spirit of your leadership, coming through you, because Allah speaks to man through man. And the glory of the kingdom is exalted by the labor we put in. That means we all have to be working together. When it comes to building the pyramids, it wasn't the Pharaoh that built it. It was the people that built these special measures. When it comes to building, the temples that most people look at throughout the earth that have become wonders of the world, it wasn't the emperor of the empire that was building these things. It was the people. When are we going to build something that will be left behind that the world can marvel at? After we leave the plane of things made manifest, we make ourselves seem more primitive than those who came before us. The spirit of the merchant who extended his commerce, the skill of the farmer who enriches his lands, the ingenuity of the artist, the improvements of the scholar, all these he honoreth with his favor, are rewarded with his bounty. So this is what true leaders produce. They produce those who are exalted in the spirit of being merchants, dealing with commerce and, being able to till the land and reap from the land that which is produce for one's own benefit, one's own health, and also generational wealth, so to speak. You know, the ingenuity of the artist, the improvements of the scholar, all of that is flourishing under one that is a true executive ruler. He planted new colonies. He built strong ships. He opened rivers for convenience. Our ancestors demonstrated all this. We here marveling about what they did. But when we gonna do it? He formed harbors for safety. His people abound in riches. And the strength of his kingdom increaseth. So this is where the strength comes from. Teamwork make the dream work. A collective effort is what we're talking about. He frameth his statutes with equity. This is the law and wisdom. His subjects enjoy the fruits of their labor in security. And this is what make them, honored to do the work. And their happiness consists of the observance of the law. They're happy to just observe the law, to conform to the will of the oh wonderful one that is at the head, the Godhead that is, right? He founded his judgments on the principles of mercy. That's another thing. We have to be merciful. But in the punishment of offenders, he is strict and impartial. That means that as much as mercy he got in the balance 50-50, one is actually able to be strong, when it comes to enforcing the law as it relates to those who violate the law. You can't be a true leader or executive ruler if you ain't got it in you to demonstrate discipline when time is needed. And no one would take you serious when it comes to leadership if you ain't got that trait in you. He founded his judgments on the principle of mercy, but in the punishment of the offenders, he is strict and impartial. Ain't no favorites. Ain't no man above the law. Anybody can get it if they get out of line. That's the mindset of the executive ruler, though he's merciful. His ears are open to the complaints of his subjects. He restrained the hands of their oppressors. He delivered them from their tyranny. So in other words, a ruler is a friend, to his people. A ruler is one that is able to govern his people accordingly. A ruler is one that is a protector, if one would allow themselves to be protected, because we got some people that are buck, their leadership and end up in a situation and wonder why. His people therefore look up to him as a father, and with reverence and love, they consider him as the guardian of all they enjoy. If you don't see your leadership like that right there, if you don't have that type of view of your leadership, or you feel ashamed of feeling that way, then something's wrong with the way you think. Their affection unto him begetteth in his breast a love of the public, and the security of their happiness is the object of his care. So basically, their affection to their leader is honored by the public. This is what causes the public to honor them. Every true leader that has tapped into the hearts and minds of the people that are honored by his people are also honored by the nations of the earth. Even if there are those who are consider themselves in opposition or the enemy, they still respect. But if you don't respect your leadership, if you don't honor your leadership, then how you going to expect somebody else to? No murmurs against him arise in their hearts, meaning they ain't feeling some type of way, salty. Feeling like, oh, I don't want to be followed. They ain't feeling like that. The machinations of his enemies, endanger not the state. So in other words, if he don't have nobody there that have, some complaints in him, then he don't have no opportunity for somebody to basically take this weak individual, this weak link, in order to infiltrate or endanger the state. You can only feel that way if somebody dissatisfied. How do you see, years ago when some of our people became turncoats, doing civil rights movements and so forth and so on? His subjects are faithful and firm in his cause. They stand in his defense, right? As a wall of brass. And the army of a tyrant flieth before them as chaff before the wind. So a true leader has those who are faithful, those who are firm. They ain't gonna let nobody talk down. They ain't gonna let nobody disrespect. They ain't gonna let nobody treat, that special one in the type of way. And in fact, when one injures their leadership, or one that is giving them divine guidance or instruction, and they know it's divine guidance, they feel offended as if they was touched physically. And they would therefore stand like a wall of brass against anybody that would come against one that is a true executive ruler. But how could that executive ruler receive that type of power, share that power, unless he shared it with the supreme ruler, the living vessel of God himself, right? Last but not least, 19, ayat, security and peace. Bless the dwelling of his people, in glory and strength encircle his throne forever. And that's all dealing with the dwelling of the hearts of the people. That glory and strength therefore encircles, one's consciousness. This is where we say my conscience rules, instead of thinking we here to rule with an iron fist. So, these are some powerful measures, family. And in closing and getting ready to open up the floor, I want to actually read a few maximums from the book or the teachings of Tahotep. And we'll find these teachings throughout all the different cultures when it deal with, our people. We left out on the 7th last week. So we're going to pick up on the 8th. It says, if you are a person of trust sent by one great person to another great person, be careful to stick to the essence of the message that you were asked to transmit. Give the message exactly as he gave it to you, and guard against provocative speech, which makes one great person angry with another. Just keep to the truth. Do not exceed it. However, even though there may have been an outburst in the message, you should not repeat it. Do not malign anyone, great or small. The Ka abhors it. The Ka deal with the soul, meaning your thinking, will, and reason, understanding, and remembrance. It says in the next maxim, if you plow and if there's growth in your field and God lets it prosper in your hand, see, this is talking about the same thing that we was just reading about. Don't boast to your neighbor. One has great respect for the silent person. A person of character is a person of wealth. If that person robs, he or she is like a crocodile in the middle of the waters. If God gives you children, don't impose on one who has no children. Neither should you decry or brag about having your own children. For there's many a father who has grief, and many a mother with children who is less content than another. It is the lonely whom God nurtures while the family man prays for a follower. Powerful. Next maxim. If you are poor, then serve a person of worth, so that your conduct may be well with God. Do not bring up the fact that he was once poor. Do not be arrogant towards him just because you know about his former state. Respect him now for his position of authority. As for fortune, it obeys its own law. That is her will. It is God's gift. It is God who makes him worthy and who protects him while he sleeps, or who can turn away from him. See, we have a lot of that too. You know, we got to get to that level where we say, don't tell them how you found me, tell them how you left me. Because people are always talking about how you was, but they forget to tell the people how you are, how you became. You know, that's a very powerful measure. You know, if we notice here, they constantly using the word God in this translation of the teachings of Tahotep. It's quite funny to find someone that says that they don't see the reality of the great God. They attack, you know, the God of the Bible, the God of the Quran, the God of the Hindu scripture, wherever you go through, but yet claim to be following the teachings of Tahotep, or the teachings of Kemet or Ma'at, because we know in every translation them European got, from E. Wallace Budge to James P. Allen, they mention the word God there. I just thought I'd add that. That fell out the ethers on me, so I gave it to you. But anyway, next maxim. Follow your heart as long as you live. Do no more than is required. Do not shorten the time of follow the heart, since that offends the car, that offends your soul. It says, don't waste time on daily cares over and beyond providing for your household. When wealth finally comes, then follow your heart. Wealth does no good if you are gloomy. Next maxim. If you are a wise man, train up a son who will be pleasing to God. If he is straight and takes after you, take care of him. Do everything that is good for him. He is your son. Your car begot him. Don't withdraw your heart from him, but an offspring can make trouble. If your son strays and neglects your counsel and disobeys all that is said with his mouth, spouting evil speech, then punish him for all his talk. God will hate him who crosses you. His guilt was determined in the womb. He who God makes boatless cannot cross the water. And that's for all of our brothers who may have had, you know, a seed that comes up and be disobedient, and our sisters that had a seed that come up to be disobedient. You know, these are instructions that were taught by our ancestors, so this lets you know they were dealing with these same things. Notice the similarities between these maxims that we give it and how they relate to the concept of magistrate and subject. I told you they was Kemetic, but this right here take the cake. This make it plain, don't it? It goes on, it says, if you are a guard in the storehouse, stand or sit rather than leave your post and trespass into someone else's place. See, you executive ruler, you got to stay on your post. Follow this rule from the first. Never leave your post, even when you're tired, when you're fatigued. Keen is the face to him who enters, announce, and spacious is the seat of him who has been asked to come in. The storehouse has fixed rules. All behavior is strictly by the rule. Only a God can penetrate the secure warehouse where the rules are followed. even by privileged persons. Mm, mm, mm. We have another maxim, maxim 14. I'm going to do 21. If you are among the people, then gain your supporters by building trust. Now, didn't we just talk about, being entrusted? Huh? The trusted man is one who does not speak the first thing that comes to mind, and he will become a leader. A man of means has a good name, and his face is benign. People will praise him even without his knowledge. On the other hand, he whose heart obeys his belly, that appetite, them passions and desires, acts for contempt of himself in the place of love. His heart is naked. We talked about that heart being the throne. And if it's naked, then that means ain't nobody seated there. That's that vacant seat in the east, remember, within. His body is unanointed. The great-hearted is a gift of God. He who has a great heart is a gift of God. He who is ruled by his appetite belongs to the enemy. Report the thing that you were commissioned to report without error. Give your advice in the high council. If you are fluent in your speech, it will not be hard for you to report, nor will anyone say of you, "Who is he to know this?" As to the authorities, their affairs will fail if they punish you for speaking truth. They should be silent upon hearing the report that you have rendered as you have been told. If you are a man who leads a man whose authority reaches widely, then you should do perfect things. See, that's the nature of that prince that we was talking about, right? The executive ruler under the guidance of the supreme ruler, right? And those which posterity will remember. Do not listen to the words of flatterers, flattering, unmeaning words, right? Or to words that puff you up with pride and vanity. All of this was being taught back then in ancient Kemet because they were dealing with the same problem. If you are a person who judges, listen carefully to the speech of the one who pleads. See there, we talk about hearing the voice, of those who complain. That's right there in the chapter. Don't stop the person from telling you everything that they had planned to tell you. A person in distress wants to pour out his or her heart even more, and they want their case to be won. If you are one who stops a person who is pleading, that person will say, "Why does he reject my plea?" Of course, not all that one pleads for can be granted, but a good hearing soothes the heart, the means for getting a true and clear explanation to listen with kindness. If you want friendship to endure in the house that you enter, the house of a master, of a brother, a friend, then whatever place you enter, beware of approaching the women there. Unhappy is the place where this is done. Unwelcome is he who intrudes on them. 1,000 men are turned away from their good because of a short moment that is like a dream. And then that moment is followed by death that comes from having known that dream. Anyone who encourages you to take advantage of the situation gives you poor advice. When you go to do it, your heart says no. If you are one who fails through the lust of women, then no affair of yours can prosper. Yep, we've seen a lot of that. Definitely caused the fall of kingdoms. If you want to have perfect conduct, to be free from every evil, then above all guard against the vice of greed. Greed is a grievous sickness that has no cure. There is no treatment for it. It embroils fathers, mothers, and brothers of the mother. It parts the wife from the husband. Greed is a compound of all evils. It is a bundle of all hateful things. That person endures whose rule is rightness, who walks a straight line, for that person will leave a legacy by such behavior. On the other hand, the greedy has no tomb. Do not be greedy. Next maxim. In the division of things, do not covet more than your share. Don't be greedy toward your relatives. A mild person has greater claim than the harsh one. Poor is the person who forgets his relatives. He is deprived of their company. Even a little bit of what is wanted would turn a quarreler into a friendly person. And last but not least, the 21st maxim. When you prosper and establish your home, love your wife with ardor, then fill her belly, clothe her back, caress her, give her ointments to soothe her body, fill her wishes for as long as you live. She is a fertile field for her husband. Do not be brutal. Good manners will influence her better than force. Do not contend with her in the courts. Keep her from the need to resort to outside powers. Her eye is her storm when she gazes. It is by such treatment that she will be compelled to stay in your house. And that's a powerful measure. So we also have to become magistrates, by being able to serve and be subject, to the wants and the needs of our God woman. And that's what makes a house, a home. That's how you honor even again Ish and Isha, the God man and the God woman in each other. And it also goes to another measure because this is honoring your nationality and divine creed. So with that being said, family, I want to give honors to all of you, you know, who on the manifest listening in. And at this time, what we going to do, we going to call on our family, star six your phone, for those who would like to speak and give their measure. We're going to put the link in here for those who may want to come in and give their portion. All are welcome, as long as all are respected. So we just say gratitude. And at this time, come on forth, Morris Ken. Let us hear the wisdom that you have to bring forth concerning this subject matter.
Islam.
Islam, Sister Curta Bay.
Islam, Islam, Islam. I am Dr. Denja Nia Kurtabe. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act One. I give honors to all my governor officials, and I give honors to you, National Sister Grand Sheik, for this wonderful and powerful class tonight. I tell you, you covered a lot of ground in the different the readings that you gave. I just got so much out of it, and we dealing with the magistrate and subject, and your topic was coming from ayat 1. O thou, the favor of heaven, whom the sons of men thy equal have agreed to raise to sovereign power and set as a ruler over themselves, consider the ends and importance of their trust far more than the dignity and height of thy station. And I tell you, God, man, you just broke all of that down, and I just got, like I said, I just got so much out of that. And when you was talking about you talked about the what stood out to me and what I remember trying to write down and keep up with you, jotted down, how you were sharing us about the throne was symbolic of the heart. And I was like, man, cause I was thinking maybe the throne would have been in the mind, or somewhere up there, but in the head. But you were saying it was symbolic of the heart, and that was so powerful because Prophet Noble Drew Ali encouraged us to purify our hearts, and if you don't have a pure heart, then you can't be a good follower. And I just loved it how you just demonstrated being a good follower. In other words, we must be humble and we must be a good follower in order to be a good leader. And that is so true. And all of these lessons that you brought forth during in this day and time is so powerful, and they are right on for our family to follow and get these teachings of the great God Allah. I tell you, you just covered so much, and due to time, I'm gonna wind it up. And the last thing, when you was reading from that, I think it's Patah. I forgot what you said was, but when you was reading out of there, and and I thought about you was talking about being truthful and telling the truth, and I saw a clip, a show with brother Judge Joe Brown on it, and the question was asked, basically like, what uh, last words would you leave with us, Judge? And he said, just tell the truth. And that was so powerful, and I thought about that when you was doing this class and reading. Family, just tell the truth. Don't compromise it, don't add nothing to it, don't take, just tell the truth. Be truthful, tell the truth, and our people will respect you, and follow you. And like you was talking about, having that, being humble enough to follow our leaders, and submit to our leaders and things. That is so powerful. But yet a lot of our people, they don't want to submit to authority, and that's a thing that we as a people gonna have to overcome and learn to know that our leaders and things, because we've been hurt so much, we got that distrust. But we have to realize, when you see an angel, you have to realize when you see God in front of you, because the great God Allah is in our leadership, is in our leaders. And gratitude, God, man, I could go on and on, but gratitude for letting me share. That's some of my measure. Islam.
In Islamism, we give honors to you as well, goddess and queen. Gratitude for that measure brought forth from our father's treasures. Islamism without the schism. All right, Islam. Any other more who would like to come forth and give their portion? The floor is still open. Islam. Can you hear me, Morris King?
Islam?
Islam, goddess and queen.
Islam, God, man. First, I rise and give praises to the great God Allah, honors to our holy prophet, W. Ali, honors to our government, our Moorish American government, honors to our officials, National Grand Sheikh, National Assistant Grand Sheikh, National Grand Chairman, National Assistant Grand Chairman, National Grand Muftis, National General Council. Honors to you, Dr. Shadira Menti, for a beautiful Moorish perspective this evening. Honors to Dangerani and Curtis Bay for reading chapter of the week and taking legislation. I'm Cassandra Foyel, Moorish Virgin Islands. For the subject matter on the integrity of a Moorish American national, being noble at all times is a requirement in the upliftment of our nation, and it helps us to continue to shine as the stars that we are, and continuing to move forward to receive the future with realizing that working within the parameters of a slave mentality is not the way to run a government, but to follow into the footprints of a pure and clean nation is more of stability and consistency, and of course, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, which is our strength and our wisdom. Gratitude for allowing me to express myself this evening. Honors to all the Moors online who have spoken before me and who shall speak after me. Islamism.
In Islamism, sister, we give honors to you for that drawing. Gratitude. Islam. All right. Are there any other Moors out there? I must have, um, let me see here. I must have touched the frequency somewhere. Well, I done knocked my frequency out. Islam. Is there any other Moor who would like to come forth and give their mention?
Islam.
Islamism. Brother Marvin Nathaniel Bay, what have you to say, grandman?
Yes, sir. Gratitude for calling me. Yeah, this is Dr. Marvin Evans out of the Texas Consulate. Rising, giving all praise to the great God Allah. Giving highest honor to his prophet, our prophet, Prophet Noble Drawley Al Tariq Abdullah. Give our honor to our theocratic government, our North American government. Give our honor to our Act 1. Give our honor to all of our officials. I give our honor to this class, our Moorish Perspectives class, as well as I give honor to you, Dr. Shedwood Mintiel Mohamed Septuel, our host and instructor of this most powerful class this evening. I give honor to all those that aided in bringing forth this class this evening as well. As well as I give honor to everything that is Moorish, our flag, our shield, our emblem, our divine constitution, our holy Quran, our book of Ali, our 101, 102, like women of the nation. All of our divine revelations I give honor. I give honor to the forerunner, Dr. Marcus Moshe Gabriel, as well as I give honor to the ancestors whose shoulders we stand upon. We are the return of the ancient one. I give honor to all those that gave their measures before me and all that will give their measures after me. Yeah, this is a very powerful class. I mean, you covered a lot of ground. I think you went through the entire chapter 51, which was beautiful, because you went deep into that magistrate subject, and pivoting off the chapter, ayat 1, O thou the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men thou equal, have agreed to raise to sovereign power and set as a ruler over themselves. Consider the end and importance of their trust, far more than the dignity and height of that station. And I concur with the Moors that spoke before me. And it just, you just brought out, everything concerning a magistrate and subject, as well as reflecting back over on the master and servant, and being Moorish American, we are instructed by the prophet to go within. So, and as we go within, we know that we are also taught that who made you? The great God Allah, the Father of the universe. And when we look at this, we come to the understanding after careful study that we are one with the great God Allah. That's one of the first lessons. When we understand this, then it puts everything in proper proportion. So, we want to govern, given that position as a governor, as a magistrate, we want to rule with an iron hand because we've come through that situation. And so we know that that's the wrong way. When the prophet said he's going to leave the European here long enough to still try to run a government. And so we look at what they've done and we know beyond a shadow of doubt that that's not what we should be doing. You know what I mean? We know that we are supposed to respect everyone of every station. There's no big eyes, no little U's here in this Moorish American government. And so as we take these lessons and make them applicable, and as we grow, as we elevate in our understanding, it causes our character to flourish. It causes our behavior to be in line with all necessities of our most American government. And so that lets us know that we are not supposed to harm anything, anyone. Any of the creation. Because we are part of that creation. It's just so beautiful to be a part of this divine and national movement, to be willing, to be a willing sacrifice, for the people. Because this is what it's all about. Being a willing sacrifice, that we will study the self to the degree that we will not go astray. Because if we don't do it, then Allah will take it from us and give it to someone else. So we know we were prophesied. We were a people that was prophesied that would come on to manifest. Because we were the low. We've been lower than any nation on the planet. We were brought down so low. But through Allah's mercy, He sent us a prophet that had been duly prepared, 5 times more powerful than all the prophets before him, to raise us up. So that we will understand what it means to be a servant. That we will understand what it means to be underneath another person or another government. But He also taught us that we were angels, that we had a job to do. He taught us that we can do it. Because the great God puts in us everything that we need. And the prophet brought all the instructions to us that we may, take advantage of what was given to us to bring forth that truth from within us. And it's just a powerful message that you brought. You covered so much ground. And I just wanted to, be of support. Because this is what we do. We support all of our Christians. All of the more that stand up, to do the job, to uplift our people. We are one. Like he said, we are one. We are all and one. So gratitude, God, man, for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
Islam and peace to you as well, beloved brother. We give honors to you for that special draw, and praise be to Allah and Islamism without the schism. Grand drawing, brother. Honors to you for all that you do and all that you will do and continue to do. All right. Islam. Is there any other more who would like to come forth and give their portion?
Islam.
Islamism. Sister Cammie, you have the floor.
Yes. Gratitude. Ayat 1 of the chapter, what is the number? 49, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Gratitude.
51, depending on which Quran you have. But it's all right.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, I say 51, depending on which Quran you have. We're dealing with magistrate and subject. Magistrate and subject.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Ayat
I was
1.
looking at the wrong chapter. Can I go ahead and give a measure on the one that we did previously? Because that's what I'm prepared for.
Okay, Ayat 1 is the actual Ayat in magistrate and subject.
Okay. All right. This is Sister Candy. I'm in Michigan. I rise, honor, and praise the great God Allah. I honor His Prophet Noble Ali, official citizens, Moors here, there, and everywhere, especially my Moors kin. O thou, the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men thy equals have agreed to raise to sovereign power. As far as heaven being the state of mind, heaven and hell, the sons of men, they have agreed to that sovereign power. As far as being a ruler over themselves, when you are sovereign, independent, and self-governing, and that's a part of being Moorish. We're self-governing as individuals. We govern ourselves with the law, and then we govern ourselves collectively with the law. So that's in harmony. The governing of self is something that some of us are still struggling with, depending how deep you are in that mental slavery and how much you've dug up so far. The independent thought, instead of someone telling you what to do, the independent thought, as far as above the next demonstration, all five is able to function. But the independent thought in your higher self to analyze and see situations and be able to make decisions regarding how you're going to demonstrate it or what you're going to do next. The thought process gets you to thinking you say yourself, and then also thought is the cause of it all. Gratitude, God, man.
In Islam, gratitude for the measure, Goddess. We give honors to you for all that you do. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. All right, next more. Is there any other more who would like to give their portion of the understanding? Islam, grand man.
This is after Baki Day. I'd like to rise and give all manner of praise to Allah, understand the Prophet, understand the credit government, a royal council, our flag, seal emblem, our divine constitution, our swift angels, FT, citizens alike, honors to all the Moors who spoke before me, all the ones that will speak after, honors to you for this class. And this is one of the chapters that the Prophet told us to, read, in order to be an executive ruler, because this is his dictation of how, one should go about when you're in a state of rulership. And this is, the thing I love about the Prophet's teaching is it's not like the Ten Commandments where it says thou or you. It's saying me. You know what I'm saying, in this sense. And the magistrate and subject is really, and I was off doing something else, but I the concept of what the magistrate subject is, the higher self dictates over the flesh. You know what I'm saying? That hearing, like you say, the hearing within. You know what I'm saying? Dictating to the higher. You know what I'm saying? Basically making your divinity rule your life, and not your life, squander your divinity. And crazy thing, I was on a job earlier, and three brothers, Hebrew brothers, had the purple and gold, as it is mentioned in this chapter, and they came over there and was gonna push down the standing, and Ears class just I don't know what just happened. It just took over. It was like everything we was going over in the Ears class. You know what I'm saying? They finally, one chapter one, when I had the big book on me, and the other one hit the other one. He was like, man, he got the book of Noble Drew Ali. And then the other one was like, they're going to turn the, it was crazy. So I started to talk about what more is and the information that we have been over and how far it goes back. And they took off. They didn't want to hear no more. So they tried to get to the other guys and do the same. And so that the integrity that you were speaking of is in what you know. If you don't know, you can't have the integrity to even dictate the station of magistrate and subject on a personal level. And really, it's a level of discipline having within yourself to, you know what I'm saying, hey, this is right, this is wrong. Am I, you know what I'm saying? And then even measuring yourself up, having the discipline to measure yourself up against what you know. And if you can't do that, that's about being clothed in purple and having that scepter. That scepter is the consciousness, is the wisdom, and the will to be able to. If it is going wrong, you got the ability to switch it back to the right. And you were talking about in the consortium is bringing it, not dwelling in things too long. It takes a skill not to dwell in naught too long. It takes a skill not to dwell in an emotion too long. So us always having that God essence and knowing where we came from, you know what I'm saying? And I see why the chairman always says the number one question, because it's like a end all be all. That's an end all be all when you think about it. Who made you? If you know who made you, you don't have no problem with you being the rule, because you know you are always linked to the divine. And if Allah's leading on, victory is always assured. There is no bad to it, because victory is assured. Now, we might not like how the victory comes, but we are in that seat of, you know what I'm saying, being the magistrate and the subject, because we get to decide how it comes and how it's dictated. And with that, I'll leave it to come to peace. Gratitude for the demonstration put out there. Islam. Peace and love.
Islamism. Peace and love to you as well. Family, gratitude. Islamism without the schism. All right. Well, we got room for one more. Islam. Islamism.
Islamism. Yes, this is Divine Minister Michael Morvay in the North Carolina territory. Once again, I rise and give praise to the great God, honest to our prophet, noble duality, and honest to you, grand man, for this grand class. I heard you talking about honoring our fathers and our mothers. And, we have to not get it twisted. We talking about our fathers and mothers that were free. We talking about our fathers and mothers that weren't slaves. We talking about honoring our holy prophet. He tells us that so as a man thinketh, so shall he be. And wow, for the Moors who failed to hear the voice of the prophet, you understand, they're still dead in this new era of time. When we talk about the magistrate and subject, when we talk about governing ourselves, it makes me think about our Declaration Proclamation. That's our manumission of freedom. And definitely our Declaration of Independence. Because it proclaims our status and our jurisdiction. Also of our proper person, of being one with the ethnic will. Declaring our oneness with the great God. Given to us three national standards, principles, and powers. You see, and this is what our forefathers and mothers had. This is why we proclaim, that we are the return of the ancient one. Because our ancient forefathers and mothers were free. And we have a covenant with them to honor them. You understand? So that our days may be longer upon the earth's land, which our Father God Allah has given to us. We definitely have have been given the life of justice, love, mercy, and righteousness. We were talking about our divine creed, and that is the nation's path to God consciousness, and into the the world of infinite thought, for that matter. One's native plane of existence, that is spirit. I had one say that, our prophet is not a true prophet. But I know we, the vanguards of this government, are following our prophet through a destiny that is neither unknown nor uncertain. Because we are here. Wars, we are very active and not passive. Because Allah has given us the honor to be His strength and His manifest. We stand on these principles of love, true peace, freedom, and justice, and to be upright, independent, and fearless with self-determination. To sacrifice everything that we thought was right, to become conscious. Because it is that wisdom that lets us know that it is dishonor to tell anyone that as magistrates and being having the ability and the consciousness to know how to treat our subjects and know that we have our own status and jurisdiction, that we are not alive. We are free. And this is what brings about our ability to be within our higher self. And that higher self beats that justice, mercy, love, and right. It's the mother of virtue. And be in harmony with the great God. So we definitely have a nationality. We definitely have a divine creed. And we definitely stand on our principles of love, true peace, freedom, and justice. And this is how we honor our fathers and our mothers, by becoming citizens of our own government, by standing with our prophet. Because the great God raised him to make us to do just that. This is why the first question is always, hey, who made you? So, grand class, you cover so many important areas, areas that our people really need to think. Because if we're going to honor our fathers and mothers, hey, we got to be free. Grand class, God, man. Peace and love to you. Islam.
Islam, peace and love. We give honors to you, brother, for that drawing. Praise be to Allah, Islamism without the schism. We give honors to our Moorish kin. Most definitely, powerful drawings brought forth by our family. I want to give honors to all of you who demonstrated, that which of the highest, expression of being who you are, executive rulers. And we say gratitude, for everything it is that you will do, that you have done, and that you will continue to do. Islamism without the schism. And at this time, what we're going to do is open up the floor for our officials. Islam. All right, and we're going to call forth our beloved goddess and queen, Sister Alceta Moonel, first and foremost. Islam, goddess. Okay, well, we'll go on to our National Grand Mufti. Islam. Let us call forth our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Kanshu Ma'ak Herubay. Islam, you there, Grand Man?
Islam.
Islamism.
Gratitude, Grand One, calls forth. We rise, first and foremost, giving all thanksgiving, adoration, worship, and praise to our Father God, Allah, the great God of the universe, the most beneficent and the most wise. And we give the highest honors that we can give to his prophet, our prophet, the last prophet in these days and in these times. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the Savior of humanity. Give honor to his forerunner, Marcus Online.
Islam, Dr. Shaheed, we can't hear the National Grand Mufti. Islam?
This evening, we give honor to all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before us, and to our Moorish kin that will speak after us. We give honors to you, angels. We just continue to give the honors where they're due, and honor all true and divine prophets. And yes, we give honors to our ancestors, as they have come before us, leading the way, and we are them today without doubt or contradiction, because no one has the power to change man from his sin nature. And praise Allah for that. And, this has been a grand class, and, one thing I always took away from this chapter, especially this first ayat, was the understanding of sovereign or supreme power unto the self. When it tells one that, the only reason that you rule is because your brothers and your sisters, your people, give up their own sovereign or supreme power over themselves in order to allow you to rule in justice. To me, it's always been a very powerful measure. It's a measure of understanding that we are all responsible for ourselves, and we all are the gods in that understanding of supreme, as far as the understanding that you create your own heaven or hell, that you have the true rulership over yourself, that God created us all equal, and that no one has the power over you. You have your own power over yourself and your own life. And the only reason that you don't is because you choose to give your supreme or sovereign power to someone else or something else. And to me, that's a very powerful statement, very powerful subject to go along with the understanding of master and servant, the understanding of, one's own responsibilities for your own survival, for your own thriving, and your own longevity. And so when we say this, is because, like I said, it's always been a powerful understanding for me, and just revealing why our government is so important. Because even though you sovereign unto yourself, you have no protection unto yourself. You have no backing in the things you want to do, or in the public, I should say. Everything that you have to do will have to be in the private if you want to continue to keep your supreme power to yourself. And that means you got to go out in the woods somewhere, or the desert or the ocean somewhere, and create your own fire, purify your own water, take care of every facet of your life. And that's a place of solitude. And we know through the social duties that we are here, to be in the bands of society, to extend mutual help and reciprocal obligations. And I think that, for us to learn to see the master the self, or be the servant to humanity, that's a grand drawing. Hold on, son. It's a grand drawing when we demonstrate the master and the servant. Because the master, even though it seems to be the position of the power, is only able to have this position because the servant gives up the supreme power, gives up their own sovereign energy in order for one to be able to rule. And so it's a symbiotic play between both, and it has to be an understanding in order to keep that demonstration running, because
soon as the master starts to get tyrannical or abusive, this is where you find ones withdrawing their supreme powers, and this is where revolutions, civil wars, and things, get into manifest because one is not respecting the law or the principle of rulership. The harmonic demonstration when it comes to rulership or master and servant understanding. And so, it just, like I said, this first ayah is so powerful, and just to solidify it for me in the hearts and minds of the Moorish Americans that, this is our nation. We fuel it with our own supreme power. The more, one understands the three aspects of law, status, jurisdiction, and adjudication, do you recognize that when you put yourself in somebody else's jurisdiction, you're giving them your supreme power over yourself, and then they want to do whatever they want to. So why would you give that supreme power to some people who is known historically to this date to abuse that power, to misuse that power, to take it and not consider you, even though you've given your power to these ones, consider you in their thoughts and actions, but make you the beast of burden to their rulership. What is the purpose of this? Why do that? Why not just, put it in your own home? Put your trust, give your supreme power to those who you can trust that have your same plight, your same tradition and history makeup, so that it could be used in a way that's going to be beneficial to not only yourself but your children and your children's children. And so this is, like I said, it's a grand class, it's a grand draw when we recognize that, as you were speaking on earlier, Muslim and Muslim, and, demonstrating a higher thought pattern when we say we are, the will of Allah made manifest, and not just submitting, but being the will of Allah made manifest, that supreme power, then truly expresses an attitude or an atmosphere of holiness and divinity. And when we, so one has to recognize God in you and the God in themselves, especially in this nation, and recognize that God has to act just for all of his creation. And this is a grand class, and we can go on and on because, like I said, this ayat is so instrumental as leaders of our nation and of our people and leaders of our families, first and foremost, and ourselves, that, what we give our supreme power to, it rules over us. So whether that be something that's divine or something that's material, whether you want to give your supreme power up to the job, up to the chase of finance, up to, he or she, some kind of love interest, then you find yourself in a servant position, and then you're going to be subject to the whims of that you have put master over yourself. This is why we don't demonstrate masonry. We don't have no worshipful masters. That Allah is where we give our rulership, and where we give our divine and supreme energy in our theocracy, so that we are not let down by the mere ideals or passions and imperfectedness of man in this lower state. So gratitude, like I said, for the class, Pastor Sister Grand Sheik, and gratitude to you, Moorish America, for being here with us, giving us your time, attention, and respect. We love you. Islam and peace.
Islam and peace. Gratitude to your Grand Mufti and the tribe as well. Praise be to Allah. Islamism. Well, at this time, let us call forth our National Grand Secretary of the State, Sister Shepsut Rakat Ma'at and Putu to come and bay. Islam, you there, Goddess and Queen?
Close as a thought. Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Grand class. Islam Moorish Ken, first fall and rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, Giving honor to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times. Giving honor to our Moorish American government, all of our officials, staff, with angels, muftis, divine ministers, most especially our Moorish guests. Giving honor to all those Moors that spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. Giving a special honor to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shadwa Menti El Mahed Chepsuel, for opening our meeting according to law. Also hosting a Grand Moorish Perspectives class this evening. Giving a special honor to our National Grand Secretary, State of Indiana, Dr. Sayanati News Hesaru L, for taking registration and reading our subject chapter for the week. To all of my Moorish kin that brought forth their measure, very powerful. This has been a grand class, Dr. Shahid, and as our Moorish kin stated, there were so many keys that you brought forth. Our subject matter, O thou, the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise to sovereign power and set as a ruler over themselves, consider the ends and importance of their trust far more than the dignity and height of thy station. And as I was reflecting on our class this evening, there were a couple of keys that stood out to me that you brought forth, Dr. Shahid, in reference to if you don't honor the leader within, then you're not going to honor the leader without. And that was so profound because this chapter covers so many degrees and levels. But in essence, we have got to learn how to be able to hear that still small voice within, to be able to go according to the dictates of the higher self within ourselves, which we are a spirit and a part of the great God Allah, and making sure that we override those temptations of what we're inclined to do, whether it be from passions, desires, or what have you. And to me, it's dealing with the aspect of character building that we all have got to build as far as building the temple of perfected man within ourselves. This transfers and filters over everything, whether it be on an individual level, whether it be within your family, whether it be supporting your special nation, interacting with the rest of the nations of the earth, even as far as learning how to be the Lord of the plane of things made manifest, and also the plane of soul. These various stations are what we were designed to demonstrate. So we're looking at areas of self-mastery. The prophet tells us that we've got to support and encourage one another, learn how to patronize one another, and how we treat and communicate with each other. That also is key, because if you have that golden cord of love, then you're going to know how to treat your brother or sister, no matter what the title or the station. You know, all are one and equal to seek their own destiny. So if you're looking at your brother or sister as having that spirit of the great God within themselves, then you're not going to drop on some lower level, come out the side of your neck, try to overrun, because you think things should go one particular way and it's not. And there's a reason why the prophet speaks about unity being key. So I look at it from the aspect of just like our Creator had mercy and compassion on us, which we are blessed here to be within our Moorish American government, blessed to be conscious that we have a nation, that we are a nation of people with one free national name. Then we should carry that gratitude in how we demonstrate with one another, because we are part of one family. When we look at these instructions coming from our ancestors and our forefathers, and prior to the advent of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we didn't have a clue. It was like trying to pick a grain of sand out of a beach somewhere to try to compile, you know, what actually our true history was, and not a remix where Rome had their hand in it. So I just looked at the recent demonstration in reference to the state of Hawaii, dealing with Maui, and how you had wildfires. Now, do you think those people were sitting there looking at who's of what entity or what group or what have you? That whole island area was in a crisis mode. So they had to learn how to we need to see as far as genocide of us as a people, and also the rest of the nations of the earth when it comes down to one few, before we say, wait a minute, we have to learn how to communicate with each other. We have to work for the common good. And that's what being a nation is about, learning how to support in a wider family, which is our special nation. So when we look at how we hurt ourselves in trying to emulate what Rome has done, and we see how they're tearing down their own demonstration due to hatred and backbiting and all kinds of slander. And this is not what is natural to us as a people. So why would we want to continue to follow those special ways when we know that leads to one's destruction, much less our special nation? So when we recognize the fact that custom does not alter the nature of truth, it doesn't make a difference what's customary here in the West. We stand upon the divine principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice in all of our actions, words, our thoughts. And thought is the cause of it all. So when we recognize the importance of the you and I ties our National Grand Sheik speaks about, then we're able to see the benefit in being able to work for the common good, which is ourselves. This is just a grand measure, because I also see in this chapter reciprocal helps and mutual obligation. We have these special stations within ourselves. We have to learn how to make it applicable to not only ourselves, but us as a people, as a tribe, and also interacting with the rest of the nations of the earth, because our gross national product is indeed wisdom. So gratitude for calling me forth. Much peace and love to all of my forest guests. That's all.
And gratitude, Grand National Secretary of State, for that drawing. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. But let us call forth our Grand National Chairman, Dr. Akin Acton Pert M. Herut, to come and bake. Islam, you there, Chairman?
Hey, close as I thought. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah. We hear you, Grand Man. Islam.
Let me rise your praise to Allah, honor the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. It's been much honor to Noble Drew Ali for bringing us everything. Man, he indeed, Noble Drew Ali is our magistrate. I was looking at the magistrate and the subject. Allah has presented us with a noble prophet, the last prophet these days in time. And Noble Drew Ali brought us everything, because we were buried so deep in slavery here more that nobody didn't even know that they didn't know we were still here. They didn't know it meant nothing, because we thought we were NBCs. You see, in 1 minute, C the next and B the next. It didn't make no difference. The thing about it is that when I look at this chapter that the prophet brought the enlightenment to us, and we find out that dealing with the magistrate and subject, then we find out what it means to have a divine constitution. Then we find out what it means to have the great God Allah. Then we find out what it means to have, a grand body, a history, a nation of people, have your own flag, constitutional laws and things. That's when we found out. So wait a minute. You mean we got our own? Because we were so busy falling behind everybody else, like what slaves do, probably do. They don't know no better. But when the prophet brought consciousness to us, he let us know, wait a minute, wake up, more. You are today who your forefathers were yesterday. Wake up. Okay? Who made you? And when we was able to answer that, look, we have been right ever since. And it's just beginning. It's just beginning, because a lot of more still think, wait a minute, what about the country? We are here. Where were we at when the prophet found us? What do you think he's going? He's going to? We got to go to Hungary or somewhere? No, You got to go to Japan or somewhere? No, I don't think so. The thing about it is it's time to wake up and realize you got a holy covenant, you got a divine constitution, you got a God, you got forefathers, and you are today who they were yesterday. This is a mighty, mighty, you got your own flag, constitution, law, charter, and everything. Lord, we are so blessed and so honored. After suffering these centuries of slavery, we're here now. More Islam is without a skill. I'm so pumped up. We love you. Islam.
In Islam, we give honors to your chairman for that grand draw, and praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. Goodness gracious. Yep, that magistrate and subject, something else. Man, if that don't make an executive rule out you, I don't know what will. Well, all right. Let us call for our national grand sheik, Dr. Serapis. I'm in Rael. Islam, you there, Sheik?
Islam, can you hear me?
Oh, loud and clear, grand man. Yes, sir.
Praise Allah. Grand presentation. Thank you for the food. We're gonna rise though and give a lot of praise. High honor to the prophet, honor to our officials and our staff, and everything that is, was, never more to be. Amen. Standing up, right, fearless and independent. The Moors, we had to get back to the frame of thought that we demonstrated when one violated our creed, or violated our codes, or violated our laws. You know, didn't the one more go out there and handle that? You know, and you went to see one, and you seen one draped in the banner, the honor of what God can do, right? To bring back that which one has violated. And so they seen that they couldn't, handle us like that. So they had to went on, basically took our mind, wiped us out, and go up and the glory to God that we're here and still in the right sense. We just don't have the right mind, the right mindset. Because now I can see 15, 16 young dudes or old dudes or whatever, just a bunch, and they want to jump on one man or one woman, whatever, you know, and there's no reason for it. But this is what one called gang activity, and we moving like that, and you don't jump on nobody, and you can't be a part of this game. You can, but that's not what love and eternal brotherhood is about. You're on the wrong stage. That's because one's been taught that way. But my phone getting ready to go out. This has been a grand demonstration. Thank you, Sheikh, for feeding us that healthy diet of wisdom this evening. Praise Allah. January 15, 1929. Warning from the prophets. Read in every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work in the home streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop blasting your cars to Europeans to cause confusion. Remember your cause for your salvation. Ready to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We often love truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice takes its course. Any citizen or group of citizens who hold malicious feelings towards the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. Our true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. They lose confidence in their prophet. They should tell them their card is button. These weren't until he feds return to the state where the prophet found. This is a holy divine movement founded by the prophet Noah Ali And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet therefore says not the divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part with section and prophet and the government. It's an everlasting movement founded by the prophet to the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways by all the prophet known to Ali. This divine warning is supreme laws now and will be enforced by the state government hereby. Islam, 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 a holy covenant of the Asiatic nation. You're the children of one father, provided for by his care, rest of one mother, as gives these sons. The bonds of affection, therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in our father's house. And when you separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you, the love, the unity, prefer not to trade for thy own blood. Thy brother's in adversity, assist him. If our sisters in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of our Father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Islam, Islam, Islam. This meeting is officially closed according to Act 2 of our divine constitution, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Long live Moorish America. Peace, love, and law, Moors. Islam.
Islam.
Great class.
Sister
Grand
Glenn.
Sheik, Dr.
Great
Great class.
Great class.
Pay your dues.
Easy Moors, peace and love.
That's a
Great class.
great class. Great class.
Islam, peace and love, Moors.
Once again, don't forget to pay your dues, Moors. We love you.
This session is no longer being recorded.
Islam, Moors. We
Let
got
me talk
to
clean to
master
the
being a
national
magistrate. Be the magistrate. You got to be a subject first. Serve humanity. We love you, Moors.
That's right.
Islam.
Love.
Peace and love.
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
Nation.
Peace and
Live
love.
and happiness.
See you, Moors, in Sunday school. Islam.
Islam. Islam. Peace and love.
Goodbye.
Peace and love to our family. For listening, we want to give honors to all of the Moors that showed up. Honors and gratitude to all of you for checking in. Brother Noble Bryan, Andre Renard of Mexham Bay, Charles Royale, we give honors to you. Noble Bryan, always. Yakub Gamma Bay. Brother Tyrese L. Islam, honors to all of you, family. Sister Janet Wooten Bay, also honors to you. And that being said, family, peace and love. We'll see you in the next Perspectives. Peace.